Welcome back to Hot Air with me, Joshua Robert. And today we're getting into part two about this whole 100th episode era rebranding. And frankly, I'm not going to waste any time getting into it because we have a lot more to cover. So technically, this is episode 101, but that 100th episode was really long. So I was like, let's break this up into two parts. Like by the time I finished part one, I was like, it's been 70 minutes. Like, this is a long episode. So if you have not listened to part one of this rebranding, it is pretty important to go back and listen to that episode first, because we're just going to keep forging ahead using the tools and the themes and the topics we've talked about to really get into how to properly rebrand. First episode, we kind of acknowledged whether we were living the life we wanted to live, and are we living a brand that is no longer serving us, that's not in alignment with us. But now we're going to talk about flipping the script and becoming the best version, the best brand of yourself. And before we do, make sure you're following me on Instagram and TikTok at _hotairpod. I am posting a hell of a lot more, so make sure you're staying in the loop there. Visit my website, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com, to shop my merch, submit your listener stories, and topic suggestions. So go listen to the first part of this if you haven't already, and then come back to me. But if you're ready to continue rebranding, I suppose we should continue rebranding. So let's hit it.
HOTAIR, hot takes therapy, no filter. Say what I mean. HOTAIR, let's be real. You're listening to Hot Air.
Now, because this is a continuation, technically, this is part 4, the Hot Air rebrand checklist. So in that first part, we dragged you a little, okay? We exposed a few things. We've had our moment of truth, hopefully. And now let's get practical, because awareness is super cute, but execution is fucking hot. And if you're stepping into a new era, I don't want you to just think differently. I want you to live differently. I want receipts. I want evidence. I want your life to start looking like a version of you that you have just been talking about for ages. So this is where we build your rebrand in a way that actually sticks. It's not chaotic. It's hopefully not too overwhelming. It's not a full life overhaul overnight, but it is intentional. It is strategic, elevated. This is your Hot Air rebrand checklist. And no, this is not about perfection. So don't even go there. This is about direction, because you don't need to do everything all at once, right? You need to do the right things just a little bit consistently. Let's start with your environment, because whether you like it or not, your environment is shaping your behavior every single day. And some of you are trying to become this elevated, disciplined, focused version of yourself while living in an environment that is chaotic, that is cluttered, distracting, and honestly, probably a little bit uninspiring. And then you're like, well, why can't I stay consistent? And because your space is working against you. Your environment should support your identity. It should not be sabotaging it. If you say that you are someone who is organized and focused and intentional, but your space is messy, overstimulating, and filled with distractions, that's off brand. And it's not about having a perfect Pinterest-worthy home. It's about creating a space that reflects how you want to feel and how you want to function. Check. Okay, we're still plugged in. So here is your first move. Just edit your environment, not add more. Edit. Remove what does not serve you. Clear the clutter, simplify, make your space feel like a place where the next version of you would actually thrive. Because when your environment is shifted, your behavior follows a lot faster than you think. I moved into my new apartment and I decorated a lot more modern, a lot more clean, a lot more elevated and upscale, at least in my mind. I think it is. Someone else might have a different opinion, but a more elevated, classier, richer version of me. And my life quickly changed and followed suit. It was kind of wild. When you redesign your space and you feel confident about it, the rest of your life is going to follow. And if you want to dig deeper into how your space impacts your mindset, I definitely recommend The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. We know. And yes, I know everyone jokes about it, but there's a reason that her theories resonate, because your environment is not neutral. It either supports you or it's holding you back. If it doesn't bring you joy, right? That's what she says. If it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it. Now, let's move to your circle, your people. And this is where things can be extremely uncomfortable, because the reality is that the people you surround yourself with influence your standards more than you realize. They influence what you do tolerate, what you don't tolerate, what you normalize, what you believe is possible. And I'm not saying that you need to cut everyone off and like start fresh, but like, let's not be dramatic for no reason. But I'm saying you need to be honest about who in your life is actually aligned with where you are going. Are the people around you inspiring you? Do they challenge you? Are they supporting your growth? Or are they keeping you comfortable? Are they keeping you small? Are they keeping you in patterns that you've already outgrown or want to leave behind? Because the truth is, proximity shapes identity. If you are constantly around people who operate at a certain level, you will start to normalize that level. So if you're trying to elevate, but your environment, socially, your environment is pulling you back, you're going to feel that tension. And again, this does not have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's just about adjusting access, adjusting how much time you spend, what conversations you engage in, what energy you allow into your space. Like, not everyone deserves the same level of access to the next version of you. It's kind of like why we think we're going to be friends with people from high school or college forever. But slowly people start to fall off. Slowly we form relationships with new people because we're becoming a different version of ourselves. We're no longer the high school or college version of ourselves. And as we become adults and we get new jobs and we have new hobbies and new goals and aspirations, we are going to meet people in all of those different avenues of life. And the people that were tethered to old versions of us start to fall off. But some of us hang on to those old versions for dear life because we're scared that, oh, I was friends with this person for 10, 15 years. Like, how could I possibly not be friends with them? But I think of this kind of the complete opposite. Like, sure, I was friends with that person for 10, 15 years, but if they're not aligned with this new version of me, I'm going to make a new friend that maybe I'll be friends with for 20, 30, 40 years. Like, it could be a longer relationship, a more meaningful one. And just because you've outgrown that old relationship doesn't mean that you don't like that person, that you don't love them, that you don't care about them. Maybe that relationship, friendship, whatever has shifted a little bit, but you're going to form new friendships that will likely last and outlast these older versions of you. And now let's talk about your routines. And I already know some of you are like, ugh, routines, discipline, structure, like gross. I get it. It's not the most exciting part of the rebrand, but I'd arguably say it is the most important part of the rebrand because your routines are your reality. They are not your goals. They are not your intentions. Your routines are important. If your daily habits don't support your long-term goals, your goals are just wishes. They are ideas. They are things that you talk about, but you don't actually build towards. So we need to elevate your routines in a way that is sustainable, like not extreme, not all or nothing, but sustainable to help complement this new version of you. And here's the little shift here. Stop trying to create perfect routines and start creating repeatable ones. Like, nobody wants to wake up at 4 a.m., right? We've all heard that like people that wake up at what is it, 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. are the most successful in the world. But like, that's highly unattainable and like not a routine that a lot of people can hang on to, especially, if you have a family, kids, a job, pets, like other responsibilities. Don't create these perfect routines based on people that, maybe tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing on the internet. Like, sure, take some advice from a life coach, but if they're telling you to get up at 4 a.m. every day and do fasted cardio, like that's not sustainable. You're going to burn out real quick. So we're creating repeatable habits, repeatable routines. Like, what are the non-negotiables in your day that support the version of you that you are becoming? Maybe it's movement. Maybe it's some creative time you set aside. Maybe it's planning your day with intention instead of reacting to your day. Like, whatever it is, it has to be consistent enough that it becomes part of your identity. And once something becomes part of your identity, it's no longer something that you have to force or even think about. It's just what you do. Mondays are my work from home day where I work on podcast stuff. Took a while to get there, to figure it out, to readjust my schedule, but now it's just habit, right? So now let's talk about your identity itself, because this is the thread that ties everything together. How do you see yourself? How do you introduce yourself? How do you carry yourself? And whether you realize it or not, you are constantly reinforcing your identity through your words and your actions. Like, if you just keep saying, I'm not a disciplined person, well, guess what, sweetie? You're never gonna be. You're going to keep acting like someone who isn't disciplined. If you keep saying, I am bad at this, I'm not good at that, I could never do that, you are literally scripting your own behavior. And that comes kind of back to the secret again. Like, if you say, I don't want to eat junk food anymore, you're still focusing on the don't and the junk food. You need to reframe that and say, I am eating healthier, or I am going to eat healthier. I prefer I am, because it's as if it's already happening. If you're saying I'm going to, that's still putting it off in the future. But if you're like, I want to stop eating junk food, that's a negative on a negative. Like, I am eating healthier. I am a healthy eater. Like, that's a much fresher, more positive way to look at it. So part of your rebrand is refining your identity in a way that supports where you are going. And that's kind of another spot where it gets a little uncomfortable, because you have to start speaking differently about yourself before you fully feel it. You kind of fake it till you make it. You have to start acting like the person you are becoming before it feels natural in your body. But that's how it works, okay? You don't wait until you feel like that person. You become that person by acting like them consistently. And if you want a resource that really dives into identity shifts and performance, I recommend Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. It's all about how your self-image shapes your behavior, and it's incredibly powerful when you actually apply it. Again, we'll talk about it at some point in time on a future episode. Now, I want to tie all this together with one more layer, which is your standards. Let's talk about your standards. At the end of the day, your life reflects what you are willing to accept, not what you say you want. It's what you accept. If your standards are low, your results will match that. If your standards are inconsistent, your results will be inconsistent. If your standards are high, but your behavior doesn't support them, then you're just living in frustration. So your rebrand is really about aligning your standards with your behavior. It's about deciding that this is what I accept in my life, and then actually living like that is true. And no, that doesn't mean that you're perfect. It means you're intentional. It means when something is off, that you notice it, that you address it, and that you adjust it. So, like, if my standards of letting somebody treat me poorly, like, let's say I want to be a person that is respected, that has a good relationship with their family, right? But I let people treat me poorly or disrespect me or treat me in a poor manner, right? Like, my standard is low for the level of respect. Then what I'm saying I want out of life and relationships is not what I am allowing. And when I stop allowing that and I raise my standards, people either have to meet that standard because I'm no longer taking bullshit, and that will match what I want my life to be, or you readjust that standard, or you move away from that old version of you, right? Right. And when I was doing research for this episode, going through probably, Mel Robbins' whole Instagram and a lot of these books and authors' Instagrams to, like, read people's comments and get little blurbs here and there was one comment under a post, and this is, like, super relevant, very relevant to the whole checklist thing, right? So someone commented on one of the many Instagrams that I rabbit holed down, How do I start upgrading my life without feeling overwhelmed or like I have to change everything all at once? And that's probably how a lot of us are feeling right now. And that's such a great question because that's exactly where everyone gets stuck. They think they need to overhaul like everything overnight. And when that feels impossible, because it is impossible, they do nothing. It's easier to just do nothing. So the answer is you don't change everything. You change the keystone habits. Like you pick one or two areas that have the biggest impact. Maybe it's your environment, your routine, and your mindset. And you focus there, just on those three. You build some momentum, you create consistency, and then you layer from there. Because the goal is not to become a completely different person overnight. The goal is to become a slightly more aligned version of yourself every day. And listen, over time, those small habits that might feel very, very small, they compound, they build, they stack. And before you know it, your life looks completely different, not because you forced it, but because you built it with consistency over time. It's those little things that really matter. So, this checklist, it's not a one-time thing. It is something you revisit consistently. It is something you refine. It is something that you evolve as you evolve, and you can use it time and time and time again. Because your rebrand is not a moment, it is a process. And if you do this right, if you actually apply this, you won't just look like you're in a new era, you will be in your fucking new era. Part 5. Main character energy isn't free. Now, this has been romanticized and glamorized and very overused and completely misunderstood. Main character energy. Again, I'm a Leo. Like, my life is main character energy, but it's a lot different than people think. Like, everyone loves to say it, everyone wants to feel it, everyone wants to be it, but very few people are actually willing to live like that. And honestly, main character energy is not a vibe. It's not an outfit. It's not a playlist. It's not you walking down the street in slow motion, although that is very fun. I love pretending like I am in a movie sometimes, like while doing absolutely nothing to move my life forward. But it's more than that. That is delusion, right? That is cosplay. That's you playing dress up with your potential. Real main character energy. It's earned, it is built, and it is backed by behavior. The truth is, the main character of any story is not just the one with the best aesthetic. It's the one making decisions. It's the one that is taking action. It's the one moving the plot forward. It's the one facing challenges and evolving, adapting, and growing. And if you're not doing those things, you are not the main character. You are a brat. You are a background actor. You are an extra in your own life, and you're getting paid a lot less than the main character is. And that might sound harsh, right? But it's also incredibly empowering because it means you can change it. And frankly, it's the fucking truth. A lot of us are extras in our life and just going through the motions. And you have to be honest with yourself first. Are you actually living like the main character of your life? Or are you waiting for something to happen? Are you waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right person, the right mood, the right version of yourself to like randomly magically appear? What I said in a previous episode, are you living a life worth talking about? Waiting is not main character behavior. Waiting, it's passive. Waiting is reactive. Waiting is how you stay stuck while convincing yourself that you are getting ready to be a main character. I see this all the time. People want the aesthetic of a certain life without the responsibility of building it. They want the confidence without the discipline. They want the success without the consistency and the hard work that success takes. They want the recognition without the work. And honestly, I get it. Of course you do. Like, same Z's. That would be great, but that's not how it works. It'd be wonderful if all these opportunities just fell in my lap and the success just came, but like that takes a lot of work and effort. Main character energy requires ownership. It requires accountability. It requires you to look at your life and go, if this isn't what I want, what am I going to do about it? If this life is not what I want it to be currently, what am I going to do about it? Because you can't keep blaming your circumstances while also refusing to change your behavior. At some point, you have to take control. And that control doesn't mean you control everything. It means you take responsibility for what you can control, which again are your actions, your decisions, the amount of effort you're putting in, and your standards. And I think one of the biggest mindset shifts that you need to make if you actually want to step into this main character energy is this, that you are not the exception to the process. You don't get to skip the work. You don't get to bypass the uncomfortable parts. You don't get to jump straight into the outcome without going through the steps that create the outcome. And honestly, I know that that is not the most exciting thing to hear, but it's the truth. Every version of the life you admire, every person you look at and think oh, I really want that. They built it through consistency, through discipline, through showing up when they didn't even feel like showing up at all, but they still did. And that's why you admire them, because of their outcome, because of their hard work. That's the part that people do not see. They see the result, not the repetition. It's like saying to someone, oh, you're so lucky. Your life is so great. People say that to me all the time, specifically family and friends from Canada where I grew up. Oh, you're so lucky. I'm sorry. This isn't luck. I drove my shitty ass Oldsmobile Alero across the continent to move to LA with no job. I was only allowed to stay for 6 months because legally, foreigners, Canadians could only stay in the United States for 6 months. I luckily had saved up money to pay my rent, but for 6 months, but that was all I had. And my car air conditioning broke in the desert. I had no friends. I didn't know anybody in LA. And looking now, 14 years later, I arguably am one of the most successful people that I know. But people look at that and they see the outcome. They don't see the years where I was working at a hair salon in West Hollywood. I would open it at 8 a.m. and I would work there until close. Sometimes I'd be there till 7 p.m. And then I would go to my second job at a nightclub until 3 a.m. And then I would go home and basically nap and do it all again. And even then I was living paycheck to paycheck. I had to donate my car because I didn't have the money to fix it. I was riding a beach cruiser to and from work, and I really should have got a proper road bike. I was struggling. I had no money. I would eat Subway every day. I literally had zero fucking dollars, and life was hard. But a lot of people don't know that because what's the point in pointing that out? My family doesn't really know that. My parents didn't really know that because I didn't like asking for help. I wanted to figure that out all on my own. But people look at my life and go, you're so lucky. I want that outcome. But are you prepared to put in the amount of fucking work and effort and stress and chaos that I have had to deal with? A lot of people, no. So if you want the main character energy, you need to start acting like someone whose life is worth watching, and not in a performative way, right? Not for other people, but for yourself. Are you making decisions that move your life forward? Are you taking action on the things you say that matter to you? Are you holding yourself to a higher standard, even when no one else is watching? Because that's where it starts, when no one else is watching. Now, let's get practical, because I don't want this to just be a reality check, right? I want you to actually apply it. That's why we're here. Jibber jabbering is fun, but let's work through this together. So the tool for this segment is called Daily Main Character Moves. Daily Main Character Moves. That's kind of hard to say. So every single day, if you can do it, it only takes a few minutes. I want you to identify just one action. One, that's it, that moves your life forward in a meaningful way. Not something that is reactive, not something you have to do anyway, but something that is intentional, that you are doing intentionally. It could be working on a project that you have been putting off, even just for 10 minutes, maybe you work on it. It could be having a conversation that you've been avoiding, even if it's only for a few minutes. It could be taking a step toward a goal that actually matters to you, that is outside of work, that is outside of things that you have to do anyway. Just one move every day. Sit down at the end of your day and acknowledge it, because the main character doesn't sit around waiting for the plot to happen. They are the fucking plot. They create it. And over time, those daily moves build momentum. They create progress. They shift your identity, because now you're not just someone who wants a different life. You are someone who is actively building one. Isn't it more fun to actively be building towards the life that you dream of, that like a version of you thought wasn't even attainable, like take the steps as opposed to just daydreaming about it. And if you want a resource that really reinforces this idea of ownership and accountability, I recommend Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. It's intense, okay? But that is the point. It forces you to take full responsibility for your outcomes, which is exactly what stepping into this energy requires. Now, let's talk about something else that people don't like to hear. Comfort is the enemy of main character energy. That kind of rhymes, right? Comfort. No, comfort is the enemy of main character energy. Focus, reel it in, Josh. And actually, first, to be clear, I don't mean comfort as in like rest or recovery, because rest and recovery is like very, very important. I mean staying in situations that are easy but not fulfilling, staying in patterns that are familiar but not productive, and staying in environments that don't challenge you, don't push you, don't inspire you. That's like so exhausting, but it can feel comfortable. Growth requires some friction. It requires you to do things that feel uncomfortable and unfamiliar, even a little bit scary. I don't know why. Like I'm not trying to get too deep here, but like growth requires friction. I was just like, that's mountains. Hello. You know, the tectonic plates, they've got friction. That's how mountains grow. And we have these beautiful like structures that we ski down or that we climb. Like those weren't there because they just like casually grew one day. They went through a lot of fucking friction and now we admire them. God, I'm so deep. Should make a should make a shirt that says that exact phrase. So yes, growth can be a little bit scary because it's uncomfortable. And if you're consistently choosing comfort over growth, you are choosing to stay exactly where you are right now. So if you feel stuck and if you feel like nothing is changing, if you feel like your life is not moving forward, look at where you're choosing comfort over progress. And like maybe look at the last time you made a choice that was different, that you were going to do something different. Like probably hasn't been a while if you feel stuck. That is where the shift needs to happen. And another question/comment that I found on the gram was, how do I stop feeling like I'm behind in life and start actually taking action? Like, hello, relatable. I think all of us feel behind at times. Like, first of all, the feeling of being behind, although we feel it all the time, it's a trap, okay? It's comparison. You're comparing yourself. That's the only reason you feel behind. It's you measuring your life against someone else's timelines, like someone else's path, someone else's version of success. And the more you focus on that, the more stuck you're going to feel because you're not behind. You're just maybe not moving. Maybe you haven't moved yet. And I don't mean that like in a judgmental way. You just maybe haven't taken the step. I mean that in a clarifying way, hopefully, because the moment you shift your focus from like where you should be to what you're actually doing, that's when shit starts to change. Instead of asking like, why am I not further along? Start asking like, what am I actually doing today that moves me further along? Have I taken steps to move me further along instead of just wondering why you're not a billionaire yet? Like progress is built in the present, not by comparing yourself to somebody else. It's not in regret. It is in action. Progress is in action. Say it with me. Progress is in action. And like, that might feel kind of small at first. It might feel like you're maybe not doing enough, but consistency beats intensity every single time. So if you want to feel like you're moving forward, like just start moving daily. Do something intentionally without overthinking it. Start taking those little steps because main character energy is not something you wait for. It is something you create. You make yourself the main character. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't fall out of the fucking sky. And I'll leave you in this segment with this. If your life were a movie, would you actually want to watch it right now? And if the answer is no, like, okay, good. That means it is time to rewrite the script. Part 6, what my first 100 episodes taught me. So let's bring this home, friends, okay? Because I don't want this episode to just be about like what you need to change. I want to be very clear about what I have learned because this 100th episode moment, 100 and 101 episodes, it didn't happen by accident, right? It wasn't just consistency for the sake of consistency. It was a lot of evolution. It was trial and error. It was showing up when sometimes I didn't feel like it. It was figuring it out as I went and honestly being willing to outgrow my own past versions over and over again. And I think that's one of the first things that this 100 episodes has taught me. It's who you are at the beginning is not who you're meant to be at the peak or at the end or later. And if you try to stay the same, if you try to cling to that original version of yourself because it's familiar or comfortable or it worked before, you will limit your own growth. Because I look back at earlier episodes of Hot Air and I'm like, okay, she was doing her best, right? But I was figuring it out. I had the energy, I had the personality, I had the spark, but I don't know if I had the clarity yet. Did I have the precision? Did I have the understanding of where the podcast was going to go? Of course not. I didn't have the same level of intention behind what I was building, right? And that's not a failure. That's part of working through the process. I spoke differently. I behaved differently. My confidence was different. And just sitting, talking alone by myself felt uncomfortable. Now I love it. That's evolution. But imagine if I had stayed with what this podcast was at the first, few months. Imagine if I decided this is working well enough. So I'm just going to keep doing exactly the same thing. There would be no growth. There would be no rebrand. There would be no 100th episode moment that actually feels like something special. The value is not just in doing something repeatedly. It's refining it. It's improving on it. It's being honest enough to go okay, this worked, but this could be better. And I think a lot of people resist that. Sometimes things are okay, but they can be better. They resist outgrowing their own past because it requires them to admit that what they're doing before is not enough anymore. And that can feel uncomfortable. It can feel like you're invalidating your own progress, but you're not. You are building on it. So lesson number 1, really, evolve faster than your comfort zone, because your comfort zone will always try to keep you where you are. It will tell you that things are fine, that you don't need to change, that you can stay where it's easy. But if you listen to that voice for too long, you will plateau. And plateauing is just a slow version of stagnation. So sure, I had a rebrand, right? Actually, this is the third one, the third little evolution of Hot Air visuals. But I could have just stayed with doing what I was doing. I could have stayed with that second, brighter, more punchy version of the visuals. But that didn't come with structure. It didn't come with more intention behind the scenes. It didn't come with sharing more clips, with creating more exciting content, with actually having a plan. I'm looking at this thing on my wall that I wrote, the core topics, the tones, the pillars of the podcast, how I'm going to promote each episode and posting schedules and refining the folder system for me to organize this stuff. This is going to make Hot Air run so much smoother. But I could have just been comfortable with where Hot Air was, right? But the version of me behind the scenes wants Hot Air to grow and be bigger. So my actions need to match that. And it's not failure that I'm leveling up, that I'm looking at the old version and saying it's not enough. It's not enough for what my goals are. So my actions have to match my goals, which have to match what my end vision is. And now the second thing that this taught me is that consistency is not about perfection, right? It is just about commitment, committing to it. There were plenty of times where I was finding it hard to find the inspiration, where I didn't feel as creative as I would like to be, where I didn't feel like maybe showing up and I didn't feel like recording maybe and putting something out into the world, but I did it anyway. Right. And it wasn't forced. I wasn't like, you have to do this. And I didn't do it in a miserable way, but in a disciplined, intentional way, because I committed to this, because I made a decision that this podcast mattered to me. And once something matters to you, your feelings about it become less relevant than your commitment to it. And anyone who knows me knows I'm so entrepreneurial. I have had a gazillion business ideas, some that I ran with, some that I didn't. hobbies that take over for a little while. But if I don't care about them, if it's not, if I don't feel that passion, like I'm doing something worthwhile, then I kind of slowly let it burn off and it goes away. This is the longest I have ever stayed with a project. And it's simply because I committed, because I cared. And I think people misunderstand that consistency. They think it means that you have to show up perfect every single time. And it doesn't. It means showing up regardless of how you feel. It's like going to the gym, even if you're exhausted. I mean, don't kill yourself, but like motivation is temporary, inspiration is inconsistent, but commitment, like that is a choice. You can choose to be committed or not. And if you want to build anything, whether it's a podcast, a business, a new lifestyle, a new identity, you need commitment. Now, the third thing that this 101 episodes taught me, and this is a big one, is that your voice gets stronger the more you use it. And I don't just mean literally. I do mean literally, but not just literally. I mean your perspective, your opinions, your point of view. At the beginning, you're figuring out what you want to say. You are testing things. You are experimenting. You're seeing what resonates, what doesn't, what feels like you, what feels forced. And I'm not just talking about podcasts. I'm just talking about as your whole rebrand. And over time, if you keep showing up, if you keep speaking, if you keep expressing yourself, you get clearer, you get sharper, you get more confident in what you are saying. And that's when things start to click. That's when your content, your work, your presence, it all starts to feel more aligned and more intentional and more you. I think a lot of people are waiting for that clarity before they start. They're like, I just need to figure out exactly what I want to say, exactly who I am, exactly what my brand is, exactly what the plan is before I start. Just know, hard fucking no. You figure that out by doing it. You can always adjust as you go. Clarity comes from action, not the other way around. I started this podcast, and I'm pretty sure I said this in the very first episode. I wanted the branding to be perfect. I wanted to know exactly what I was going to talk about. I wanted to have a very specific voice. And that's why for years, I put the podcast off. I was thinking about it for probably 3 years and I didn't do it. Imagine where I would be if I started 3 years ago. But at some point, I was just like, no, you start and you will figure it out as you go. It will shift. It will change. The people that are here for you are here for Josh. They're not here because 1 week you're talking about therapy, 1 week you're talking about pride flag history, 1 week you're talking about how insane the president is. Like, sure, I jump around a lot, but I found my voice. I found my brand. I found my themes. And again, it will probably evolve, but you don't need it to be perfect in the first place. Let's say you're a fashion designer and you're like, I need to have a exact identifiable look or something. Someone can look at a dress I made and say, oh, that's a whoever, whatever your name is. That's not true. Just start. You will figure it out. And even if you do start with that vision, it's going to be different in a year anyway. So just fucking start your rebrand, whatever that means to you. Again, clarity comes from action, not the other way around. Let's talk about something else that this journey has really reinforced. Hard for me, okay? But feedback matters. Like alignment matters more, but feedback matters, okay? When you're putting something out into the world, whatever it is, you're going to get opinions. You are going to get feedback. And some of it will be helpful. Some of it will be noise and frankly can be very hurtful. And you have to learn or try to learn how to filter that. If you try to please everyone, you will dilute yourself. You will lose your edge. You will lose the very thing that makes you you. So yes, listen, be open, of course, be willing to improve, but also stay aligned with your vision. Take criticism, listen to the feedback, good and bad, but stay aligned with who you are. At the end of the day, you are the one building this. You are the one living this. And if it doesn't feel like you, it's not sustainable. And here's a tool that I want to give you for this final segment. It's something that I've naturally done throughout the process, but I want you to do it intentionally. And it's called quarterly rebrand reflection. Every few months, sit down, ask yourself a few key questions. I mean, I do this all the time. So maybe you can do it more, but questions like, what is working in my life right now? What's not working right now? What have I outgrown? What needs to evolve? And most importantly, Am I still aligned with the version of myself that I'm trying to become? Because growth is not a one-time decision. It is ongoing. It is something that you revisit, that you refine, and you adjust as you evolve. It doesn't just end. It will always need to be checked in upon. And if you want a resource that really supports the idea of continuous growth and mindset, I recommend Mindset by Carol S. Dweck. It dives into the difference between fixed and growth mindsets and how your beliefs about yourself shape your ability to evolve. And we will talk about that as well on a future episode. Now, let's bring this to one final listener question that I received in one of my emails. This person said, how do I stay consistent when I lose momentum or feel like I'm falling off the wagon? And this is an important question because it's not about if that happens, it's about when that happens. You will lose momentum. You will have off days, off weeks, maybe even off months. There could be a whole year where you're like, I am so off. Like that is simply part of being human. The key is to not avoid that. It's to recover from it as quickly as you can. Don't turn one off day into a full spiral. Don't let one missed habit turn into abandoning the entire routine. Don't let a temporary setback become a permanent pattern because consistency is not about never falling off the wagon. It's about getting back on faster each time. Like get up, dust yourself off and try again, like Aaliyah said, right? And the faster you can reset, the less impact those moments have. So instead of aiming for perfection, just try to be resilient. Aim for resilience. Aim for the ability to adjust, to recalibrate, to keep moving forward, even when things are not perfect. That is what actually builds something long term. And I think if I had to sum up what these 100 and now 101 episodes have really taught me, I would say it's this. You are allowed to evolve however you want. You are allowed to change however you want. You are allowed to outgrow versions of yourself and versions of people that once felt right. But you have to be willing to act on that. You have to be willing to make different choices, to raise your standards, to show up differently. Because at the end of the day, your life is not going to change because you thought about it in your head. It's going to change because you did something actively about it. And if you made it this far, if you are still here, still listening, still thinking about your own life in the context of all of this, then you already know. You've already started. You already know what needs to shift. And you're at least aware that maybe something isn't aligned. But the question is, what are you going to do next? And if you made it all the way here with me, good job. Okay, peeps. Like we talked about so much. We talked about what you're holding on to that doesn't deserve to come with you into your next era. We broke down the difference between rebranding your aesthetic and actually changing your behavior. We called out the ways your life might be a little off brand and more importantly, how to realign it. We built a practical checklist to start upgrading your environment, your routines, your standards. And we got very honest about the fact that main character energy is not something that you just simply claim. It's something that you earn through your consistent actions. Now, if there's one thing that you should take away from all of this, it's your life is a direct reflection of what you tolerate, what you prioritize, and what you consistently do. Not what you say you want, not what you plan to do next. It's what you actually show up for. So again, if something feels off, change it. Easy, change it. If something feels misaligned, address it. If you know you're capable of more, start acting like it. Because my new era, the new hot air era, like it's not something I'm waiting for. It's something that I am deciding, that I am diving into, that I am grabbing by the balls. I am in control of the new hot air era, right? Okay, and I actually have, I want to leave this episode with like one question in your mind, okay? What is one thing you can do today that actually moves you closer to the version of your life that you keep talking about? What's one thing you can do today? Start there. Keep it simple, build momentum, and then keep fucking going. And of course, if you love this episode, make sure you share it with your friends and your fam and your ex and your enemies. Make sure you like it. You subscribe wherever you are listening. Like, spread the love. Let's rebrand together. Let's get more people stepping into their next level. And also make sure you're following me on Instagram and TikTok at _hotairpod because I'm posting a hell of a lot more. Head on over to my website, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com, to shop my merch, submit your listener stories, and topic suggestions. And listen, this is just the beginning of the new hot air era. And this is the new beginning of your hot girl summer, maybe your main character energy era, but you have to work on it, right? And it's going to evolve over time. Things are going to change. So keep rebranding, stay focused, stay consistent. Don't be hard on yourself if you miss a day or two of these new routines that you're trying to set. Just get back on the wagon. Every time you fall off, get back up and keep working. What did Kim Kardashian say? Nobody wants to work nowadays. Get your ass up and work. And with that, I will see you next Tuesday.
HOTAIR, hot takes therapy, no filter. Say what I mean. HOTAIR, let's be real. You're listening to Hot Air.